No, okay.
Continue. A little bit late, sorry. You can put a chair up here if you want to.
My name is Ryan Whitley with Kinley Horn and, our business address is 500 East 96th Street, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46240. And I am here on behalf of Vertical Bridge and Verizon seeking a conditional use to install a 290-foot guide wire tower, to help improve telecommunications within the Starke County area, primarily southwest of Knox here. And I guess we submitted a rather lengthy package to you guys, 85 pages or so. I guess the way that I usually like to start these off is to find out, do you guys have specific questions for me in regard to this particular project and how it's will affect the community or help the community, and go from there?
Do we have all of the green card? Everything's back. I think you emailed that to us late in the day.
Yes.
Or
Yes, so instead of returning the address to the office, they put the returning address to their actual office so that they received it. So I asked Jamie Matthews, who was working with me regarding this whole variance. So she went ahead and scanned them in. I sent it to you guys all. So there is 18 adjoining neighbors in total. But only 7 of them have scanned green cards received via email. What I did not receive back, or they have not received back, is Howard Willie G, located at 3025 South 200 East, Knox, Indiana 46534. Messer Sean and Amy Michelle, located at 1735 East Toda Road, Knox, Indiana 46534. McCurry John and Margaret, located at 123 Ambassador Avenue, Romeoville, Illinois 6446. Bravosky Jan P. and Joanna Maria, located at 1620 East Toda Road, Knox, Indiana 46534. Breezy Dreejord, sorry if I said that wrong, and Maria, located at 2755 South 200 East, Knox, Indiana 46534. Ben Kowski, James R. and Amy E, located at 2950 South 200 East, Knox, Indiana 46534.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Well, I think at this time we'll open the floor to public comment if anyone wishes to speak in support of or against. If you can come forward and state your name and address for the record.
Hi, I'm Jackie Salyer, and I want to know, the land that they are planning on doing this is across the road from us. We live in the subdivision. I want to know, are they doing half of that? Are you taking half of that property? Did you buy all of that field or what?
This will be a lease.
Right.
So it is a 75 by 75 square foot area that we lease.
Okay, so you didn't buy it, you just.
No, ma'am. It will be a 50-year lease, was the way that the lease agreement was written. And we occupy only that part of that
Section.
property.
So that is at the corner, right?
Not exactly at the corner,
I think
due
there's
to
a drawing, right?
Yes, that's what I'm getting at
requirements
here.
that we were required to have, which is roughly the height of the tower. So it will be 300 feet east of 200 and almost 300 feet north of Toto Road.
Okay.
You said east of 200, you meant.
Yes, my apologies. Yes,
Because we live at the entrance in Tribute Drive, the entrance into the south edge of the subdivision there.
okay.
And I was wondering how that was going to affect our area. You know, if you were putting something in the rest of that land or,
Needless to say, we don't own the rest of that property,
Yeah.
so I don't know what the landowner has in store for that property, other than the lease area that we have.
okay, because I was just curious, because when it went up for sale, I thought it was the whole property, not just, you know. So
I
I mean,
don't, I
that,
don't have any further information for
okay,
you,
that's okay.
unfortunately.
I was just curious if you bought, if I didn't
No.
know anything about it, that's why we're here.
When Vertical Bridge puts up a tower, it is strictly to the specific lease area in which we are in. This particular tower has guidelines. And as you can see on the screen here, with the three legs that come out, those are guidelines. And there will be an anchor at each of those, and roughly a 5-foot fence by a 30-foot fence will protect that guy line. So if they were to, we put a lot of these in farm fields. If they would like to farm around it, we provide enough clearance for them to get under those guy lines. So beyond that, we have zero interest in that property other than that specific lease
Okay,
area.
I was just curious if
Right.
something was going into the rest of that area.
If there is, we have not been informed of that.
Okay,
I got a question about, probably to you.
Sure.
Is there any interference with what you're doing to what we have in there, like television wise and radio
No, sir.
on that?
So the way that cellular communications work is Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile all have to go to the FCC and purchase frequencies or spectrum from the FCC. So Verizon will have their own designated frequencies, as will T-Mobile, AT&T, so on and so on. So these do not interfere with the emergency communication bands. They are specific to these and they are required to stay within those. Anytime that we put up, say a 5G antenna on an existing tower, we have to go back to the FCC and update all those frequencies as well. So it is very strict the way that they run that to avoid any interference with television or radio or emergency communications.
How did you determine your location, sir? How does that work?
So the way that this works is, Verizon is the end client here. So City Switch, or I'm sorry, Vertical Bridge is the tower owner. Verizon came to Vertical Bridge and said, hey, we need a tower here. And can you help us find a location to do that? We in turn work for Vertical Bridge as a site acquisition consultant, if you will. And we go out and they give us a search ring, and it's typically a half mile search ring. So we have to determine, is the zoning appropriate? Where can we put a tower? We need to understand setbacks from your zoning code. So this package that I submitted goes through every single line of your code that pertains to cellular communication towers and how we address and meet it. So that's the process that we start with. Then we send out letters to all the properties that we feel we could potentially build one. Any of those landowners that have interests would call us back. And then we would potentially start the leasing conversation with them. This particular landowner was interested and we moved forward. We were able to successfully sign a lease. And now we are at the point of zoning, permitting, and off we go.
Any other public comments?
Just in general, can you outline the general area that's gonna receive improved communications?
We can, do you happen to have the maps that were shown for the propagation maps? It would be Exhibit B, I believe. Yes, Exhibit B. It's probably gonna be way up closer to the top.
Okay.
I got the letter of intent, I got.
I think it's the letter of intent is where you're gonna find that, because that's there, all of their.
It'll be just after that. There you go.
Uh-huh. I'm going by memory, it was a lot of document. Oh, maybe it's not in the letter of intent. There we go.
There for pros site.
There you go. This is a depiction, and this comes from directly from Verizon, so we don't have access to these. This is a proprietary system that they use. This is the existing service that is currently for Verizon in the area. The red that you see is the best, if you will. Right now. Right, and then the yellow is good. The red will basically translate into indoor service. You're able to use your phone. There's no interruptions, so on and so forth. When you get down to the yellow, that starts to diminish even more. When you hit the white, it's anybody's guess, right? So if you're dropping calls, if you're not able to, it's all breaking up on you and whatever else, this is the reason why. This is the propagation signal that they put out, and the bottom one that you're seeing there with the yellow is the other tower that they're potentially on, I say potential, that they are on to the south of us. And it's probably 2 to 3 miles south of the particular location that we see there. If you advance a slide here, we can show what it will look like if there was a new tower approved and their service was up and
Go
going.
further down.
Should be in
At least.
page 3, it looks like.
Yeah.
There we go.
Look at all. Right.
So this right here shows the propagation of the new signal that would take place from the new tower. It's branching out in virtually all 3 directions. When you see a cell tower, there's always 3 faces to a cell tower. And that's why you're seeing it look like almost a hurricane, if you will, branching out this way, that way, and that way. Those are the way that the 3 faces are pointing. So the coverage will be the strongest in those particular areas. The biggest goal with a cellular network is trying to get it to interact with the existing systems that are in place. So they're trying the best they can and find the optimal location to connect with that tower to the north and that tower to the south without overlapping too much. If you scroll one more picture for me. So where you see the epicenter of this one at the black dot just to the right, that is an existing tower that is currently in that location. And the reason that that is not able to work for Verizon is because there is a whole bunch of overlap that happens from that northern tower and that southern tower when it hits. And when that happens, it causes havoc with their systems. It will cause drop calls, it causes capacity issues. It basically acts as interference on itself. Not to mention, when you are spending $250,000 to $300,000 to put up a tower, you're trying to maximize the area in which it covers. So that is why the 1 mile difference between this location that you see there and the black dot to the left is significant for Verizon, because they're also trying to cover a large section of that area out to the west that has virtually no signal. So this is what we're looking at from a coverage standpoint. It also breaks down into capacity. So when you're in a city or you have a sports venue or there's a lot of people trying to hit the tower at the same time.
Slows it down.
Pardon me?
It slows it down, doesn't
Right,
it?
it's like it clogs it up.
Mhm.
So any major thoroughfare that you have, that's why you see so many of these towers that are next to a major thoroughfare. Because we're trying to serve those people that are passing by. And when that happens, all of a sudden, that single tower gets slammed with 20, 30, 50, 100, 200, 1,000 people driving by within minutes. And it has a very hard time trying to connect all the dots. So this site right here is trying to help capacity with the number of people that hit the tower, as well as coverage. So it's trying to improve that big gap. If you go back 2 slides. Verizon is trying to cover that big hole that you see there.
Who's your service provider?
You didn't hear what she said.
Who's your service provider?
Well, we have, Mercury and Cirque coming through that area. I was wondering, we have Bright Speed right now, and it's terrible out there.
This would be cell
So
service.
that's the cell phone.
Right, I think you're getting it mixed up.
Well, on
Yeah.
The broadband.
This is cell.
Cell phone. So who do you use for your cell phone service? Do you know?
Oh, we just have a smartphone. We don't have all that new stuff.
You don't use the phone?
So I got a question.
Sure.
I deal with the FBI on cell towers and tracking people.
Hmm.
Verizon's the largest cell tower owner in the United States, right? I believe.
I don't know if I can
But
definitively say that.
They lease to other cell,
Sure.
is that correct? So you build this, it's just not Verizon. They can.
Oh, there's
You
some.
have a co-location agreement in here, it looks like.
100%. So let me make this clear too. So Vertical Bridge is a tower owner. This is a good thing. Their business model is based on trying to market that tower to as many people, carriers, as they can to come put their equipment on that tower.
Mhm.
So they're trying to basically construct a tower that is not meant for just them. It is meant for them and at bare minimum two others. And that's part of your ordinance as well.
Right,
And
yeah.
that's fairly typical across the country. Everywhere that we see is, you know, nobody wants to just willy-nilly put up towers. Verizon understands, trust me, if we could go on that other tower, they would have us do it in a second. It will take a third of the time. And they'll be up and running with their equipment and off they go. So we work on those as well as we call those modifications. So a new co-location on an existing tower. And there is a justification letter in this packet that if anybody wants to read it, you're more than welcome to pull it up, but it's a little lengthy. And it's from the Verizon's network engineer that basically says, this is the reason why we cannot go on that tower. And this is the reason why we need to construct a new one. And he breaks it down pretty well. I've summarized it for you, just in regard to trying to optimize their service from that tower to the north, the tower to the south, and expand coverage to the west, while filling that gap. Per Verizon's radio frequency engineer, this gap in service has been there quite some time. He did not say a specific number of years, but he said it was multiple years. So this is an ongoing issue that they have identified and are trying to solve for the folks of Starke County.
We used to have Verizon.
So speaking of someone who has towers on their property,
Sure.
who's gonna control the weeds around it and vegetation management?
Well, within the compound, so once again, you have to understand that for Vertical Bridge's lease is only that lease area.
Well, is it all concrete?
Oh, no, it will be.
So we'll have grass and weeds.
Sure, absolutely. Vertical Bridge will be responsible for maintaining the compound that they have that is fenced in. And if there's obviously, you know, we see it from time to time where residents will say, hey, this is getting unruly, if they haven't done anything about it. We turn around, I say we, Vertical Bridge was who you would end up contacting. You'll have a contact for Vertical Bridge, as will the landowner, if that were to become an issue. Those are the things that the jurisdiction certainly has some sway over, to say, look, this is unruly, you need to manage your property, this is part of it, and off they go. Vertical Bridge is one of the biggest tower owners in the country, and we work with them a lot. And I find, from my personal experience, they do a pretty good job. There are always outliers, so I can't say always, but they do a pretty good job.
Typically, that type of service is outsourced.
Right, they'll just hire
Yeah.
somebody
Come
to come in
in
and clean.
and spray the weeds, pull them,
Right.
spray them.
There's a thorn around it.
What side's
Acorn is,
Yeah. Thinking around it, we wouldn't have trouble because that property.
Call from my husband.
Right, sometime.
It's been in of that bank they have, and we get the tumbleweeds across the road and
Oh,
we have
you're
to
not.
constantly fight that stuff.
Any more
So,
public comment?
Yeah. Maybe you should put it on
So
something.
any other public comments?
So another advantage of this being, I think that's what you alluded to is pinging. That it'd be another advantage to have a tower there to be able to ping locations.
Basically, when you are in that area, your phone tries to find the nearest tower, whatever signals come out. If you're in that particular area, and it's a pretty large swath that you'll see there, that would be the tower that you would now connect to instead of trying to connect to the one to the south or
Oh,
to
you
the
have a
north.
question?
Well, I'm saying like when you try to locate somebody,
Here or there?
okay?
Oh, we
Wait,
just asked
We
him.
used to
I do.
do what's called
Okay,
ping
several.
ping a phone. And you could use the towers and you could locate where that phone is.
I'm assuming you can do all of that, but I am not on that technical side of the business to where I don't know that I could give you an intelligent answer on it. But yes, it is another tower if a phone was connecting
Oh,
to that.
okay, I
And
see.
for whatever reason you needed to ping it, if they're in that vicinity, it should ping it.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and close the public comment and move to board discussion.
I'll make a motion to close the public comment.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, so board discussion. So I do have a few questions for you.
Sure.
The member packet, the summary refers to a 150-foot monopole. But the official application site has.
I'm assuming that is a typo.
Police
Yeah,
all describe a 290 guide tower. So can you just confirm that this is a 290-foot guide tower with a 10-foot antenna?
100%, it is the 290%. And
90 foot.
forgive us.
That may not have been, I don't know who filled out the member packet, the first page, but it says 150 foot. Yeah, it's fine, as long as your letter of intent is correct.
That is.
So I do have some questions. Your engineering letter certifies a 250-foot fall radius. However, typically you look for the exact same fall ratio, which would be 290 feet. Does the 250 fall zone remain 100% within the subject parcel? Do you know?
The
Do
two
they
hundred
cross?
yes, it is 285 feet to the eastern parcel line,
Okay,
which would be 200. It is, I believe, 313 or something like that to the southern parcel line.
okay, and what about the roads? Are we also within the fall rate of the roads? Both crossroads, Toto Road and
No.
200?
That's what I'm saying to you.
Yeah.
No,
Okay,
313 and 280.
313 to the south,
okay,
so we're at 290 or
Yep,
300
and then-
to the,
to the
Like,
east, which is the road.
right,
And then what about, is the next parcel north, is that all the same landowner?
yes, it is.
Okay, that was my question. I wanted to make sure it wasn't another landowner.
No,
Okay.
we wouldn't even come close. So
Okay.
you also have to understand how these things don't fall over, as a single unit. When they design these things.
They fall at a certain point, yeah.
Well, they put breakpoints in.
Break 'em.
So
Yeah.
these things are not a solid piece of steel. You'd never be able to move it. So there are segments that they put together as it goes up. And they engineer those specifically to collapse at a certain spot,
Right.
which is why in this particular one, we knew that we needed to stay within 285 feet, so we avoided 200 to the east. So they designed it to collapse within 250 feet,
Okay,
leaving an extra 35 feet before we ever even snipped the road.
got it. The ditch that's there, do we know, is that a regulated ditch
Yes,
or?
it is.
It is a
That's my
regulated
understanding.
ditch.
So regulated drain.
So is that how far is it from the regulated?
I don't know that I have that.
This is scaled, it's quite far.
Is it quite far?
Scaled.
Yeah,
Within the-
it's a bit away.
It's outside of the 200.
Yeah,
That's ratio.
exceeds that.
Okay, all right. I just want to make sure it exceeds that. So in our ordinance, it does require screening if it's within a quarter mile of residences, which we are. Your application says existing vegetation is adequate. But I went out there is no existing vegetation.
I
So-
looked at it too.
Okay.
And I wholeheartedly agree. So if you would like to put a condition on the approval of the project, I am more than happy to take that back to Vertical Bridge and they will more than happy create a landscape plan around it.
I was thinking like a row of 6-foot evergreen trees around the fencing perimeter,
Right.
just like we do for a lot of our other.
Right. Please understand that that does not cover that front face.
Right.
Where the drive is
Yep.
that comes in. Okay,
Understood.
we can do that for you and I'll happily get that to Sabina.
Yeah, we haven't voted on it, so we'll see what
Yeah,
everybody
I
else thinks.
understand.
That was
If you
definitely
were
the question
to
was the
approve it.
screening because it's just a big open lot. So, okay. Okay, our ordinance also requires a 3x3x7 shelter space in the equipment building. 2 antenna mounts on the upper third of the tower, AC power access for emergency use. And all at no cost to the county. What I found was that you will work in good faith to provide space, which really doesn't satisfy the ordinance. So will you explicitly commit to providing the 3x3x7 shelter space for county E911 use, 2 antenna slots, power access as required by the ordinance, not just in good faith?
The issue that we have here is shelter buildings aren't really used anymore.
Okay,
So typically speaking, there is a concrete pad that is poured. And they have what's called outdoor cabinets, and it's virtually what you're describing to me right now. It's
Right,
about a
outdoor.
3x3x6 foot cabinet. That houses all the equipment, and they usually have 2 of them. One is for the battery backups and one is for the radio equipment that connects with the equipment up on top. So. To be able to commit to the space in the shelter. I don't know how we would do that. As
will you
far as
commit to the 2 antenna slots and power access?
power access will be there. Now, are you asking for that to be provided at no cost to
Yes,
county?
that's how our ordinance is
The power itself.
all of it is at no cost to the county is how the
Okay.
ordinance is written.
So once again, if you were to approve it, I will take whatever conditions that you put forward to this and take it back to Vertical Bridge and, I can't say with 100% that they will do it. But I can say I believe that they will do it.
And then my next question is the decommissioning. So I do see that there is a decommissioning agreement which requires removal within 6 months. Lease allows 90 days after lease ends. I'm not seeing that there's any bond or financial security included, and I'm bringing this up because we have a tower right now in Hamlet. My understanding, and of course, the person that lives there left, but it's been sitting empty for years now. They abandoned it and it's even the farmers like, I don't know what to do with it. So I'm just wondering if you guys would agree to a possible bond or escrow account.
If
To
you put it as a
guarantee
condition of
removal.
approval, yes, they will. Just so you know, though, within that lease agreement. Vertical Bridge would be in breach of their lease agreement with the landowner if they were not to take that down within the 90 days. That's obviously on top of whatever condition you may put. Needless to say, they don't want to be in breach of their contract.
Got it.
Well,
Well, and again, it's like the solar, we can make that more of an.
if you want to put a bond on it, we have to do bonds all the time. It's not an unusual thing. It's perfectly acceptable to us. It's just an extra step that we have to take.
FAA lighting, tower lighting will follow the FAA rules. There weren't any details. Do we know, is it white strobe or red beacon?
I would have to confirm that for you.
This is good.
If you.
Typically white during daylight hours and red.
Right,
Yeah.
so they.
I just want to make sure it doesn't,
on-
impact of neighboring residents.
It may be on, if you scroll down to the.
I looked for it, but I might not have seen it.
It'll be in the FAA determination.
Ah, okay, hold on, I did see the
Probably.
FAA. And I think that's where I saw it. It had it follows the FAA rules, but there was no detail about the lighting type. So that's why I was curious.
I would have to get you confirmation on that. I don't do anything with the construction of the towers, so I don't. And every jurisdiction seems to be a little bit different in regard to it. Obviously, the FAA is the one that's mandating it, but I think a lot of it has to do with the number of airports, heliports, air traffic in the area as to which lighting scheme that they choose or require.
Gotcha. Those were my only questions. I will have a question of you, Tim, in a minute, but I'll wait and see if anybody else has questions first.
No, I don't have
I do not.
Questions?
any. I'm good.
I took, I went out.
Could
to
you
the
also
site.
mention that, the sign off sheet for
Oh.
everybody to be
Yeah,
signed?
if everybody can sign that clipboard that's here,
Yes.
Okay.
then if you haven't.
I haven't. I don't know if everybody signed it. You signed it?
Also to whoever made a comment, I know the lady in the orange and
Yes, Jen, we can get your
Here.
names.
I need
so
their
that
names
She
and
can
their
get them for our notes. What was your name again, ma'am?
Salyer,
Salyer,
Rex and Jackie Salyer.
Rex and Jackie. And I'm sorry, I know you said it in the planning commission, but I don't remember.
Tom Torso.
Tom Torsel. And then Tom, you know Tom Bush, though. Okay. All right, all right. No other questions from you guys? All right, so Tim, I do have one question for you. It's a conflict of interest question. So, I work for T-Mobile, correct? So, obviously, I'm going to abstain from voting on this. But we'll leave it to the two of you to,
Wow.
yeah, sorry.
Well, we better vote one way or the other.
Sorry, I just, you know, I mean, I
I
can.
do need a tower over by me, like service stuff, so that's condition of this, just so you know. I'm not allowed to say that.
Can voice to you guys that with the conditions, I have no concerns, but I am not gonna vote.
I would
for that.
love to have something like this come into my area.
Now, which side of the town happened?
I live by Coons Lake
Walk.
and nobody has service there, nobody has that place or the other crappy
No.
place.
Oh, terrible stuff up there.
I don't understand it.
You
They can put a tower. Yeah, they can put a tower and I just don't know why they don't.
May I ask you, is it a heavily populated area?
Yes, it is. That's true.
It's
Okay, I'm not familiar with the area.
I mean, it's full of people and they don't have any service. It's so frustrating.
all
Well,
right. All right, well, if there's no further
Oh,
discussion,
sorry.
that's okay. If there's no further discussion, I will entertain a motion regarding the variance
We're
request.
gonna talk about that.
I visited the site yesterday and, just looking at the land, I have no issues with putting a tower there and listening to the presentation. The questions that were asked were answered and, we do live in a time of high tech. It's hard for me to keep up with it, but there is a need out there for it, so I would be in favor of voting for the, exemption
As is.
as is.
The only thing I would ask is that Roberta brought up a couple of points that probably need to be put into the requirement. And, you know, we can't just make the motion to be the same as is. I think we should add those. Especially those circumstances, you know. I mean, this lady lives across from it. I don't think it's a bad idea that they put some kind of coverage since it's a requirement. I mean, if it's in the ordinance, I think we should just follow those ordinances.
it's perfect.
That's all.
Okay,
And I'm perfectly okay with making a second, but I think we should add those particular items that she brought up.
we're not gonna move forward with Jean's motion. Would you like to make a motion? So that motion has died. Do you have a motion?
I would like to make a motion, but I'd like to see your notes.
Oh.
She don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, absolutely.
I just think that we should add a few of those.
So really.
Because I don't want someone to say, well, you put in a tower over here and they didn't make him.
So we are looking at the vegetation. So we would be asking for evergreens. I put row of 6-foot evergreen trees around the fencing perimeter, not included the gating area.
We will
So-
provide you with a landscaping plan, which can be slip
Okay.
There we
shaded
go, landscaping
into.
plan.
I'm not as worried about the 3x3 shelter in place. You did take up a good.
Yeah, but we do want the
Yes.
antennas and the AC.
Yes, I agree with that.
So
Sorry,
you're
say
gonna
that
call
one
that E911, the E911 emergency services, not the 3x3, we're okay, but we do need to make sure we get the 2
Two
antennas.
antennas
there
on and the
Access.
AC power
AC.
for emergency.
At no cost to the county.
Yep.
And then
I think that's about.
I think that was it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was it, because they have a decommissioning agreement. We were good with everything else.
And the bond,
Yes.
we do want to add
The
that,
bond.
the bond. So that's.
So
my
one
request.
thing that we would need to know with that is what bond do you require?
Yeah, that's a great question.
And I can work with Sabina if you'd like to.
Yeah.
At least
Maybe
something,
see what you guys have done in the past, and Tim, if you could take a look and see what a valid amount.
I mean, typically speaking, these are somewhere in between $50,000 and $75,000
To take
Yeah.
that.
yeah,
as a bond.
yeah. We just want to make sure the county's covered in a circumstance, so
So if
that's.
you'd like to have that, like I said, if that's a condition of approval before we, get a building permit, We will provide the landscaping plan and the bond for removal.
And make sure it has that up there.
The E91
Yep.
E911 services.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you want to do your motion again?
Yeah. So my motion is to have the actual screen on the front. The power, which has the two antenna mounts, AC power access for emergency use. And then, of course, the bond. So that's my motion.
Alright, we have a
May
motion?
I ask you guys a question?
Sure.
You can ask whatever you like.
And that would be, because this is a tower owner, they are going to market that tower to other carriers. Is there going to be specific requirements that your emergency services will have as far as height? Or is it just going to be, let's just say that there's 3 carriers on this tower. And you guys say, hey, we need it at 275 feet and there's already somebody there. That would.
Did you have the specifics of our ordinance? It does require 2 antenna mounts on the upper third of the tower, so that's it, upper third.
Okay, I mean, put it as commission, a condition as approval and I'm
So
almost.
it needs to just
certain
be
that we'll get
in
this.
line with section six
Whatever it is
fourteen
that you
nine C.
Is that a code?
What
That
do
is
you
our
guys need? Do you
code.
need that?
That's a hard one.
Stating that or just a letter? What is it that you guys would like?
For which part? I'm sorry. Yeah, so
You take your pick. I mean,
Yeah,
obviously.
we'd like to
landscape
get your-
plan,
the landscape plan.
That's no problem.
You have in your letter, you'll work in good faith, so I think we want it to be formally, Tim, help me out. Formally acknowledged in the agreement that they're gonna give us the E911 services and then the decommissioning bond.
So you'd like to hear definitively that if and when emergency services would like to place equipment on the tower, there will be a space provided to you without designation of height other than
Upper third.
the upper
Says upper
third.
third.
Now, this is a huge tower, so that could be,
Gotcha.
okay. just-
Divided by
I'm just-
three,
I'm trying to set
yeah.
expectations. Else? Anything?
The bond.
The bond,
Bonds, no problem either. I
Yeah.
don't think.
Okay.
and then just, if you can provide us the landscape screening, you
Right.
know. Ideally, we don't need it in the front because you have to have access, obviously.
Right.
but
It'll be a
the
gravel
other three
lot,
sides, yeah.
basically,
Which
that's,
side is, just out of curiosity, which side is the?
unfortunately, it does face to
The residence, okay.
now. My client probably wouldn't be happy with me saying this, but if you really are trying to screen that subdivision. You can ask us to potentially spin it to where, and I think the reason that they didn't do it is because Toto Road is a more,
Busier road. Yeah.
so they're trying to keep
Mm.
additional
Trying to get-
accesses off that road, and that's why they did that.
Yeah,
So.
kind of a double-edged sword, in my opinion. on
If
that
you
one.
want to require it. I can certainly put it back to our client and. They probably won't care
You
one
might
way or
wanna
another.
ask the neighbor.
Yeah,
So. You will see, it'll be a gravel drive coming up to this and it basically just looks like a T. So the front of the compound will have a. Chain link fence. It's usually a 14-foot gate.
Mhm.
These are pretty sparse as far as. You're gonna see 2 cabinets for Verizon. There's gonna be a generator.
Is it gonna be loud?
It's a diesel generator, so I mean, it only kicks on in the event of a power outage.
Okay.
I would venture to say as far away as it is from the subdivision, you probably wouldn't hear a thing.
I think there was a noise.
Visually speaking, it's a tower.
Are you accessing from Toto Road or 200 East?
200 east.
Good.
So what we're saying is from 200 east, you're still gonna be able to see the compound, even if you put the landscaping around. it.
Right.
So it won't provide a lot of blockage. Now, if we spun it and we provided access off Toto, theoretically, your side facing east would be blocked by evergreens that we would plant.
She wouldn't see the fence.
And I'll tell you, you're still gonna see most of it.
Yes,
Just so
I
you
mean,
know.
that's.
it's way up in the
that's
air, you're not gonna
well
miss it.
taken care of. That's, you know,
You know, as long as what you're talking about is taken care of. But the rest of that field there, especially in front of 200, it is a joke. You can't leave your garage doors open. And you can't go away a half an hour without that crap going across the road into your garage. If you leave your windows down in your vehicle, good luck. And that's what we deal with.
They opened it up.
Should something be done about that farmer that owned that? At one time, before he bought it, Lord Howard had it. And he had this farmer come in and farm it, keep it chopped down. This week, and a whole bit, but once that stopped. Then you guys took over, you haven't taken over yet, but it's a mess.
I think.
Sorry, we've had
I
public
like that.
comment.
Yeah.
We've had the public comment.
Where, yeah, and it's
Should.
in that for so many years, but they don't do anything with it.
All right, so it sounds,
Leave it in.
yeah, so I think we're good, it sounds like with leaving it. Yeah, Total Road, my concern with that would be a lot of stop and go, and it's just more dangerous than the side roads,
I
so.
have a motion.
Can we, yep, we have a motion.
And I have a second.
Here's a second.
Could we please repeat,
Repeat.
I also, what I got is
Highlighted my notes for you.
Okay, I'll go over
So
them.
maybe,
Okay, yep, let's move forward.
All in favor?
all in favor?
Aye.
And I'm gonna abstain.
Okay.
All right, so if the,
Harold?
well, just to clarify for the record, under Indiana law, a decision of the Board of Zoning Appeals may be appealed within 30 days of the approval. Any aggrieved party has the right to file that appeal in a Stark County Circuit Court or Superior Court, so,
Good luck.
all right.
Thank
And you will
guys.
work with Sabina to
We will.
get the rest of that
I will make
document?
sure that she has everything she needs prior to
Do you
filing
have a-
for a building
Do you
permit.
have a card or contact?
I do, but it's in my car, so I'll happily run back.
All right.
Have you want it?
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're gonna take-
All right, well, we will now move on to our second public hearing. All right, this is a request by Richard Blaming for an area variance to allow a 30 by 28-foot garage on a non-adjoining lot to his residence. Do we have the applicant here? Yes, all right, if you want to come forward. And we will check with Sabina. Do we have all of our documentation in order for this one?
Okay, so all notifications are in order. So he's got 3 adjoining neighbors. I'm trying to pull that up real quick for
Okay.
you guys. Let me just pull it up so you guys can see
You
it.
can move a chair up if you want.
Okay.
I'll sit down.
There you go. It's quiet. We should be able to hear you.
A little quieter than before.
Keep it clean now.
All right, there we go.
All right, so. The one in the red is where he's getting the variance. So he's got 3 adjoining neighbors, in total. Only 2 of the green cards came back in the office with one of them signed and notarized on the affidavit. And which that one that got signed is this fellow right here.
The investor, okay?
Yes, so. You guys have it in your guys' member packet, but he's got a, signed the affidavit right
Okay.
here. So that's the only one that's odd,
Okay, all right,
which is right here.
okay. All right, well, before we dive too deep, I'm gonna open it up for public comment.
I'll make a motion to open it up for public comment.
Second.
All in favor? All right,
Aye.
all right,
Go ahead, sir.
any,
Well, my main concern, I wanted to move my garage, which is 28 foot deep by 30 foot wide. The right side is facing east, and there's a. If I hold it at 10 feet setback from that lot line on the east side. There's about a 30-inch deep swale and probably 20 trees there. And it's lowland,
yes,
and I'd hate to have to cut those trees down to center the garage, which would give me. Correct lot line setbacks on all 4 sides. So I was wondering, I talked to the concrete contractor, if we move it to the left from that drawing. Probably not even 3 feet, maybe 2.5 feet. I can leave the swale that's on the right, which goes the whole elevation of the lot line. From south to north.
so that's where the utility pole is?
There was no
Is that the-
utility poles anywhere. on the
No, there's a
property.
utility,
That's on 10.
that's on 10, right?
10. There's no other utility poles on that property.
Okay. Maybe I looked at the wrong, I feel like I was looking at, because your property is right across the street, your home.
No, the property right across is Blake's
Mhm.
property. Mine is 5347, the
There's
highlighted
that
one.
Okay. And then the other garage that is there, so you're going behind that garage closer to the pond?
Correct, because
Oh, so you're leaving the scrub lot that's to the,
well,
I call it scrub lot because it's, yeah, low lying in trees. Okay, so you're actually getting closer to that larger pond that's behind that
Cherry
garage.
White Full, well, correct, but I actually want to stay back off that lot line, maybe 12 to 13 feet instead of 10 feet. So that I don't have to cut down the trees and fill in the swale.
So you're gonna be parallel with the garage that's already there.
Correct.
And what's the distance between the two garages then?
Right now, it's probably 8.5 feet, but that particular garage, one of the other drawings, it actually came into, it had a variance too when Don White built it. You can see the outline of the garage coming into my lot, my red outline lot.
Yeah, because that's the gravel. See, I was thinking it was the,
Does it have an existing building on it now?
It has a shed on it. That I got a permit for.
This is on the east side of town,
yeah. I looked at the wrong-
because I was there, I drove up there yesterday and I was struggling.
We thought it was the, here we
This is the shed I
go.
got on it,
Thank
and
you. So this is there. So when you went, just like me, you saw what you saw, and you can't get a street view on Google for that area.
Oh,
Right, and so this is that pond. Did you see the
Yeah, I
bridge
saw the
back
pond.
there? So this is actually parallel with the garage that's already there with the, here we go. Thank you. That's perfect. So you probably did the same thing as me. You thought he was putting it over here
Yeah.
and that's.
yeah, they're everywhere.
Right, he's actually putting it right behind.
Behind.
So you have to access his parcel to get into the garage then?
No, there's actually,
There's
There's
a
a
road
road
there?
that has never been developed,
Oh,
so, yeah,
so it said public road.
yeah,
I
it's
didn't see that public road when I was there.
It said
his going. Right here,
public road.
public road right here that goes onto this property.
All right, so here's 10. This was the lot we were looking at, Gene, right? No, no.
this one, 23, and there's a.
23 and 13.
road,
This is-
10
So where, okay, so the trees are where?
Here,
And you're here.
this is my lot here.
So
Okay,
that,
Okay,
now-
so
The trees are here.
that's an unimproved. road.
Well,
Yeah, it's just easement.
It's gravel.
Easements.
Gravel road right now.
Easements, okay, so it's not really.
But
a road.
it's-
So you're gonna have to put a road in.
There's already a road, it's a gravel, this is all gravelled, like 40 feet,
Okay,
Hmm.
all of this.
oh, see, I thought that was the other garage's problem,
So you need the variance.
And his garage enters this way too, by the way.
right?
I'm confused. So what do you need the variance for?
Because it's not
Because
an
it's not
adjoining
adjoining
neighbor,
neighbor.
it's not across
It's-
from his
It's not
property.
across from my house here.
It's not on, basically, we're putting a garage on a parcel with no.
No home on it.
See, we don't have, neither of us have the actual street address, we have
Is
a
it
PIN
your
number, real
garage here?
estate number.
Yes, that's this garage.
So this garage
So this
was
garage is here.
accepted.
This was a variance at some
Some of
point.
this public road
There's
here.
many of them out there.
Yeah, and then this would be where he wants to.
I would
put
just
his
like not
garage.
to have to cut. the
And they're
trees.
saying that there's a public road somewhere over here, Bose, is that what you're saying?
Well, right,
Behind the
right,
tree?
It's right there.
It's Typically, the public
Yeah, that's what I'm.
Actually, we put that in.
is actually the public road.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a-
And there's
Yeah,
no,
He's gotta just put the garage right here
right.
and butt it up next to the neighbor.
And then who's this neighbor? Who
Oh,
owns
that's
this
the problem.
garage?
Oh,
Oh,
Yeah, so he's actually, he
That's-
lives right across, that's how he got
Okay.
out
This house
Okay.
there.
with this.
and I'm assuming you have no
Correct. We,
concerns
we
with,
tore this house down and split this lot.
got it.
And
Okay,
our-
now it makes more sense.
Yeah.
Now it makes more sense.
I drove and drove and drove.
Well, I think we just assumed, I assumed it was that, I'm calling it a scrub lot where those trees are, cause it's low lying and I thought, well.
But there's
I'm
already-
gonna do something else with it.
And there's already a garage
Garage
here,
here,
so
so we're
it's
gonna
not
take
gonna
down
change
that.
much different.
No, yeah. Okay. All right,
Well, here's my 2 cents if it means
yes,
anything.
please.
How big's the shed that you got there?
Had a permit for
How long ago did you get it permitted?
it. Probably 2015.
Okay, so my way of thinking. They gave him a permit for a shed.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And it's not 10 acres, it don't follow under the ordinance, nothing anyway there either, you know what I mean? So somebody along the line. Probably thought it was adjacent enough to give him that, you know what I mean? So. I can't see the difference, I mean, it's up to you guys, but.
Yeah.
Shed or.
You're gonna move the shed or?
They'll
Shed
have
will
to
go away, I'm
come
assuming.
and buy it all the way.
The shed will have to go away.
Taking it to Coons Lake.
Oh, he got it sold?
I think he wants it on some property he's got.
Yeah, there's no room there for
Alright.
both, so it would have to go
No,
away.
let's go.
Alright, so we're removing the shed goes away, garage goes in.
And it's just electric, no sewer, no water, no well.
Alright, so any public comment? I think we can motion to close public. Any motion to.
Well, we can ask, anybody else gonna?
But
I'll make a motion to call public comment.
I'll second.
Thank you.
public comment is closed.
All in
Oh,
favor?
any question?
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Public
Close
comment?
public comment
Yeah,
and any
Board
questions from the board?
no.
No, I took a good look at it yesterday and it didn't make sense, but it does today.
Okay, all right, well, do
Aye.
we have anyone that would like to entertain a motion?
No, you can make the motion. I
Well, what I saw yesterday at Bass Lake and I'm surprised I didn't get the sheriff called on me because I turned in so many drives over there, but I was just looking at some of these things and there's a lot of this that went on over there.
There is.
And so at that point, I see no reason to deny this fellow's project, so I would be in favor of making a motion to grant the variance.
And make it. You make it that way?
I didn't make it anyway. He's
I know,
making
you
it.
can make it to grant the variance. Then? Okay, I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed? All right, and
Okay.
again, I will just remind you,
Also, I'd like to mention, timeframe to when he obtains a permit. I know from the
yes.
previous.
we've always, yeah.
Yes.
So when
So,
are you looking to, when do you think you'll be ready to start building?
Probably by the end of July. August.
So 6.
So what, 6 months?
okay, go ahead, I guess, put that in your motion.
Yes, can you redo your motion, including a 6-month time frame for them to obtain it?
Read an ordinance somewhere that it needs to start within a certain time or it gets reviewed again.
It's
Seems like I read an
not,
ordinance.
not to start, but
So-
it has to be done in a certain time frame, or it has to be renewed.
Permits are a year and then the ordinance is, I think the variance is what. we're deciding.
I don't know where you're going, Debbie, with the,
I read something about once it's permitted, it needs to get started within 90 days.
not necessarily, they got a year to do it or whatnot.
Yeah, they got a year.
to do it or Things like that, it's not. Now, if these guys put stipulations on something, then yeah, you got, that's gotta go in with the permit,
Right, more just putting the stipulation that we want the permit within.
Do you wanna redo the motion, Gene, or do you want me to do the motion? I don't care.
With the stipulation,
No, just that it's done in 6 months.
we'll get a permit.
Permitted.
Get a permit.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the variance. You have 6 months to actually.
Finish it.
No,
I'd say
obtain your permit.
Obtain your permit.
Oh, get the permit.
1 year to finish it,
No, it'll be done. It'll be done this summer.
Okay.
okay?
All right, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
None opposed? All right, and
Okay.
again, I will tell you, we have 30 days by law that it could be appealed by somebody. Going through the court system, so just so you're aware.
I didn't
Anybody
say-
adjacent
It-
property
yeah,
owner?
exactly, somebody from the public could come back and put in their deal. So,
And the courts, and the county court, that'll be tough.
yes, all right, well, let's go ahead and go on to old business, new
Thank
business.
you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, if you didn't have
Um,
that shit, so.
Do we have any comments or questions regarding the proposed 2026 BZA budget? So the only thing I'm gonna bring up again would be the office supplies, because we are using the tablets now, and it was supposed to help us save, and we're putting the same thing in the budget. Same thing I talked to, oh, you weren't here.
I was not
Yeah,
here for
so during the planning commission, we discussed the fact that office supplies part of the purpose of these was to hopefully lower our cost for office supplies. But since we really don't know yet what it's gonna cost, I think we just leave it for right now, but that would have been the only thing that I saw
I
in
think,
here.
I think the council's gonna do different things and try to figure
Yeah.
out ways to
Yeah.
cut anyway.
I agree.
And it's just an estimated budget on top of that, so they go in there and they make changes.
Yeah.
I'm fine with the budget.
I do wanna mention, I know Mary actually pointed out to me, but in the BZA penalty fund of the $10.80, 1080 taken out, the account was done by mistake for that account.
Okay,
So that's in the works process of getting fixed, with, Rebecca and the other.
you said $7.
$10, yeah,
Okay.
nothing big, but
Gotcha.
just, I just wanna point that out to you guys, just in case you guys were observing that during when I was sending it out to you guys, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Make sure.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, and then also the 3% is also included with the 2026 budget
3% for,
So
for the salary.
Salaries,
okay.
just like last.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay. All right.
It was mentioned in the,
Yeah, we brought up the thing and
Yeah.
then, yeah, the council's
Yes.
gonna have to figure all that out. with
yeah,
the
'cause
75.
yeah,
Yeah.
113,
Yeah.
so.
All right, so do we have a motion to approve them?
Do we have to have a motion to
Or-
approve the budget?
Didn't we?
Yes.
it's an estimated budget.
It's an
We have to-
estimated
we
work.
have to
Yeah.
approve it.
We have to approve
Yeah.
it so that they can take it to the council next month. So,
I make a motion, we approve the estimated budget.
I'll second that motion.
all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
None opposed? All right. Any other new business? From anyone? Open up to the public, any?
I do.
Yes.
Looked like there was something else on the agenda or
There
Oh,
is.
there's something within this. I'm sorry.
Attorney Bookwater here.
Sorry,
Yeah,
yes,
there was-
sorry, thank you.
Sabina brought this to my attention.
Okay. Yes, so we have
Did you
another,
Put that on the agenda for a date, the council,
So I was unsure of the process of moving forward with that type of appeal. So I did contact with, just working with Tim along with that. And we spoke sometimes about just where to fit that in, and it is up to you guys. Whether if you want to make it as into my agenda for
What is it?
public hearings.
yeah, can you tell us what we're talking? I'm sorry, yeah, can you?
So, there's an appeal going,
this goes back to the whole solar farm thing.
yes, this is
Okay.
attached to the whole solar farm, so.
The, basically, the decision the planning commission made, some citizens appealed that. And the way they appealed it was to file an appeal, notice of appeal, through the Board of Zoning Appeals.
mm,
Well, it's a planning commission decision. And they applied to the BCA using some language, I think, from way back. And in looking at the ordinance for the zoning ordinance for this county, it says that hear and determine appeals, the board, meaning you guys, shall have the following powers, and it shall be its duty to, number one, hear and determine appeals from and review any order, requirement, decision, or determination made by an administrative official. And they're trying to say that's Mary, okay? That's what this appeal is about. Or board charged with the enforcement of this Article 6, except P-C-, which means the plan commission. So our ordinance accepts out that you do not have the authority to handle an appeal that involves something that plan commission does.
Okay,
So that's a decision you guys need to make. That's the hot ticket that goes on, but I'm just
So-
saying that the ordinance says you can't hear that.
Okay, so then what would be our steps? If our ordinance, I'm an ordinance person, so if our ordinance says that we should not be hearing this, then what is our
I'm
next
telling you what,
step?
I'm giving my legal opinion, that's what it says.
Okay,
So I assume that somebody's gonna say I'm wrong,
okay,
and somebody's gonna wanna sue us or whatever, but that's what it is, that's what it says. It says, and it makes common sense. I mean, why would the BZA have the authority to overturn something that the plan commission did? So I'm just saying they filed it, It's there. We talked about giving them a date. They filed their filing fee. It was like the last day,
Yes,
wasn't
it
it?
was the last day.
Last day this thing came up. But it says that you don't hear those things, so,
Well, I'd like to follow the ordinance if that's what it says. That's all.
I get,
mean,
I
that's
get
what it
that
says.
all the time and said, I said this or did that,
So would
but I
the,
haven't. Okay.
so Tim, is your recommendation that we schedule it and we basically just state
Yeah, it's telling.
if that's how the board feels?
Some lawyer out.
But we need to at least put it on an agenda.
Yeah, you put it on the agenda, and I'll tell them.
Okay,
But
all right. Can we add that to the next meeting so that we can get it?
So,
I think you said,
there is an actual open slot for, I believe it was June 9.
Yeah, the next meeting is, June 9 sounds right, yeah. June 11th, June 11th.
June 11th, yeah, that's what the other
I
one
think it
is.
was July 9th. I believe it was July 9th because it's actually a month after, because it's August, I'm all the way booked up, because I wanted to keep that slot open in case if this had to be into the agenda for July. So July 9th is actually the time period of when this appeal got taken place, where they would fill it out. They would actually take that spot. So July 9th, I have one person applicant already booked for the first slot. Second slot is open, but I would tell anybody who came in because I was unsure of this process. So we waited until the next meeting, which is today, to discuss what to do with this appeal. So
So my question, I guess, is, so this is an appeal versus a variance. So I guess my question is, can it not be added just to the next agenda item so that we can move on?
well, I don't think it's gonna be a good, I had to bet. You know,
Okay. Okay,
It's, you know, it's gonna be more like about 2 months ago, the meeting we had in here.
gotcha.
So,
So that's what you anticipate. All right, so July is when we would see that one then? Okay. Well, then I guess that's what we need to do is put it on the agenda
right.
and address it on July 9.
July 9th.
Okay.
If I'm wrong, I will correct it, but
It's July 9th.
July 9th.
June 11, next month's 11.
June 11th.
But
July.
that's-
Applicants that fill paperwork today, I would tell them until August, that's
Right.
the one I'm booked for, because I saved that slot. Just for this meeting to make sure and confirm with
So-
everyone, with you guys, to where to fill that in,
Gotcha.
so.
So Tim, I'm looking at our clock
I have
And our
something along
time.
those lines.
and our time. I mean, is this something that would make sense to just have another meeting just to get it?
Well,
I keep looking, we're at 8:15 already. And if you're thinking this is gonna be
Yeah.
a longer meeting,
So you're gonna need a long meeting to argue an ordinance.
Well. You're gonna have a lot, if it's like the last one we had, you're gonna have a lot of people show up.
To tell them that
To-
the ordinance
To not
says this
wanna
can't
hear what I
happen.
have to say.
Don't wanna hear what you're.
Yeah, so that's what happened last time. That's why we had a special session.
Well, whatever you wanna do, I mean.
I'm just thinking out loud. I know
don't
for
want
you,
to be-
like you
Tim-
said, it's 9
Tim
o'clock.
said You can't do it.
Right.
I'm giving you my legal advice. You guys do what you want.
Right, I understand that. I'm just wondering, does it make sense? Do you guys think to just, do we have a special meeting? Is that feasible? Can we do that? Or do we just let it go to a late
I
meeting
stick in that slot.
in the July slot? Okay. All right, do we need a motion to get that added, or is that just something you can do?
I'd make a motion. Let's-
Okay.
I'll make that motion. I'll
Yeah,
make it
that's
for
it,
July
July.
9th meeting. Have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, so.
I have something along those lines.
Okay, let me just make sure I'm not missing anything again real quick, sorry. All right, so yep, I'll open it up to,
So on the terms of misuse, misleading and falsifying, I have this administrative appeal application of the Board of Zoning Appeals. That says, in signing this application, I authorize members of the Starke County Board of Zoning Appeals to access my property for the limited purpose of photographing viewing areas affected by this variance with my address. It is signed by somebody named Jason Kucheme, an attorney, giving permission to go on my property for this purpose.
I have not
How
seen the
can that-
document,
I'm
so I
sure
don't know.
Try whatever they can try.
Is that the lawyer that was out of Fort Wayne? Is that?
Mhm, yes.
I've never met him.
I have not seen any
Does
of
anybody
these
agree
documents.
that that's correct, that he signs permission to go on my property? And my saying, I give my permission.
Is that one of our documents, Sabina? Is that like something?
You wouldn't see that till July 9th.
Okay,
Before
gotcha.
that,
Okay,
Yeah.
there is a thing in there that the homeowner normally signs that allows the board members to go on the property, like with the garages and
Right,
different things. you know what I
okay.
mean? And that's what Debbie hears is complaining about, so.
oh, I see. Because it's her property.
She was the one that signed it to say, come on my property.
Got
This is the check I wrote out for
Okay.
our one spring installment of our property taxes, and you wonder why I'm here to protect my property rights?
So,
That doesn't include any mortgage payments. And to have some rogue attorney sign permission to go on my property, obviously you guys wouldn't allow that. But it happened last week.
And I spoke to the Taft law firm.
Pardon?
I spoke to the Taft law firm a number of times. They represent Dunbar Bridge. They're they told me that you have not, or they have not exercised their
No, they
option.
haven't even.
I want to make sure I had that right.
Still
I
totally my.
I related that to the board, okay?
Yeah, it's just very, and to be clear, I've never threatened to sue the county, not one of those that you're just mentioned. But been a battle.
like I said, we haven't seen the document. It sounds like we'll see the document you're
I feel like-
referencing before the next meeting.
Deserved a lot more respect than we've gotten in the last 2 years.
Any other public comments? All right, with no other public comments, our next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, June 11th at 6:30 or immediately following the plan commission meeting. And if there is no further business, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
All right.
Use the tab.